Tonight, each of our 6 inductees will receive a Hall of Fame plaque. Okay? Yeah, Jake, it's yours because it's the first. You get your certificate. Now, this is, I know, when I looked at this, and then I was very well corrected quickly. It's in a very simple frame because I am not going to guess what everybody's home decor is. If you have cherry or maple or oak, and we give you the wrong frame color, here's your plastic frame. But as I kind of bragged about a little earlier tonight, probably one of the coolest things that you'll be able to carry with you forever is your Hall of Fame coin. And these are new this year. This is a different design than last year. Last year's, if I remember right, and I got to go look at it because, of course, I got to move the microphone pack because it's in that pocket. Let's see here. These had class of 25 on them, which was the first year. These don't have a year. So a little bit of give and take, a little bigger, a little heavier, you guys get the point. But each of the inductees will also receive their Hall of Fame coin. I'm going to overly embarrass myself for a second because I'm good at that. At this point last year, I had made eye contact with Tim Sanders. And Tim was sitting here doing this. And I'm like, you're right. Let's get this show started. I said, Tim, let's go. I forgot something. So this year in my script up here, in gigantic blue highlighted letters, that's also got the red underneath it that says, don't get fired. It says, at this time, I would like to welcome Mr. Rick Wells, our current athletic director, who I totally skipped last year, to the podium for his opening remarks regarding the Hall of Fame in Southridge athletics. I'm not getting fired. So, Mr. Rick Wells.
How about a hand for Ted? Holy smokes. And before I get going here, I know that Tim Sanders is going to be speaking tonight, so I had many pages, and so I've cut it down to 2, so we have enough time for Tim. In your guys' booklets tonight, just another thing, if you look in the very back, there's a QR code. The reason why we put that there is multiple people are going to get disappointed in some of their auction items and things that they might not get or whatnot, but you still want to be able to contribute. This is a way to contribute directly to our athletics program using that QR code, and I encourage you to do that and appreciate it. The other thing I want to do is I want to thank Digital Image Tri-Cities Quality Printing. All of these full color brochures were donated by them. So if you can use them as patronage for printing, banners, all sorts of different things that they do. They're right by Hanford High School. They have been an excellent partner for Southridge High School the whole time that I've been here. So Digital Image Tri-Cities is on the back there, and I'd encourage you to use them. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rick Wells, and I'm proud to be the Director of Athletics and Activities for Southridge High School. Most importantly, I am incredibly proud to be a son. Just look around at what we have here tonight. All sons and all incredible people. I want to recognize a few people that made tonight possible. To our sponsors and donors, especially those of you that have been a part of putting the auction item together, etc. It's a time where funding is never guaranteed, but you chose to say yes. You said yes to students, yes to opportunities, and yes to the mission of athletics. Because of you, our vision becomes reality. We are grateful for your partnership and belief in Southridge. Thank you to the sponsors and donors tonight. To our Booster Club. Again, look around this room. This was done by a group of people. Each year, that we've done this 2 times now, it takes us about 9 months to put this thing together. And to have the vision to make the little tweaks and change things and make things a little bit better each time. And I've seen that vision come alive, and it's because of the work of our Booster Club and the people that work here. And I want to thank you for those unseen work hours that bring nights like this to our life. That dedication ensures that our athletes and our history are honored the right way. Our athletic department continues to improve because you dedicate yourselves to our mission. A few years ago when I got here, our booster club was in shambles. It's just the facts. And now it's actually unbelievably effective and incredible, and has donated tens of thousands of dollars over the last couple of years to our kids. And these are the nights that make that type of stuff happen. Thank you, boosters. And probably most importantly, and Ted introduced everybody earlier, this is to my coaches, our coaches. You shape young people in ways that extend far beyond any scoreboard. You give your time in season and out of season. You sacrifice evenings, weekends, and family moments. You carry the weight of tough losses and humility of great wins. Most importantly, you serve kids, teaching discipline, accountability, and character. You carry it all because you believe in kids. You are truly some of the best people I know. I am so blessed to be your athletic director. Thank you, coaches. Appreciate you. And I want to name them by name because all these six did I say? That's later. We have 6 seniors here tonight. 6 senior athletes and great leaders in our building right now. And I'm so proud to have them here for the first time. This is one of our changes that we did. One of the best wrestlers in the history of Southridge, Desiree Juarez. 2 of our amazing cheerleaders and great leaders in our ASB program, Lucy McCollum and Paula Cartagena. A baseball player and the son of one of our inductees, Braden Sullivan. One of our tough basketball players who played his heart out this year, and he's going to play baseball this year too, Nick Williamson. And I know this may sound silly. I used to play this position. Our quarterback, Coppin Hunkapiller. Thank you again for being here tonight. Tonight is more about plaques on a wall. It is about why we created the Southridge Hall of Fame. Tradition does not happen by accident. It's not just about time. It's not about some school that's open for 100 years. I'm not going to refer to one that's close to here. It's cultivated, it's protected, and passed on. For decades, Southridge athletes have competed with discipline, enthusiasm, and integrity. Over time, they didn't just win games, they built a standard. The Hall of Fame now exists to preserve that standard and connect generations of sons. Within those generations are families. So you're here tonight. Behind every achievement were parents who sacrificed, families who invested time and energy, and teammates who pushed one another, and coaches who believed. Success was never individual. It was and is still shared. An amazing example of this is seeing Braden Sullivan call his mom. Got him into our office, called his mom, Emily, to tell her that she had been inducted. And she's on the phone saying, "I'm trying to order a sandwich. What are you doing to me here?" I know. But that moment and those moments where we made those phone calls this year, it truly made my year. Being able to have Moose be able to tell his brother, that was pretty special too. You know, doing a conference call with somebody in Florida with Kennewick, what a deal. Technology is pretty cool, but that family stuff is truly something I'll never forget. Another example is last year, speaking of the Maters, I happened to be at Columbia Park Golf Course. I had just finished contemplating why I even play the game of golf. And this lovely couple grabs me and says how much they loved the Hall of Fame dinner this year. And this was about last year, and how much it meant to them to see their son inducted. Well, tonight, they get another son inducted. Mr. and Mrs. Mater, bless you. Thank you for making Thank you for making an AD know he did something right. And while we honor what happened during high school, we're equally proud of what happened after. Our inductees carry the lessons learned here into their careers, their families, and communities across the country. The scoreboard always fades, including the one in our stadium. Their character does not. Leadership, service, and integrity. That is the true legacy of athletics. We have incredible examples of this tonight. I will always stand by this statement. Southridge is not a building, a stadium, or a logo. Southridge is our huddle. It is the people who truly engage and embrace the culture of a Sun. It is a network, past and present, connected by shared values all over the country. When one Sun succeeds, we all shine a little brighter. We created this Hall of Fame to preserve excellence, honor sacrifice, celebrate character, and connect generations. Most of all, we created it to affirm this truth. Greatness is not a moment. It is not a statistic. It is a culture. And that culture lives in our people. Tonight we celebrate that culture in Emily, Jake, Cassie, Ben, Tyler, and Heather. Thank you for representing Southridge so well. Welcome to the Hall of Fame, and thank you for choosing to be a Sun.
At this time, I would like to introduce our only varsity baseball coach, Mr. Tim Sanders, to present class of 1999 graduate, Mr. Jake Burns, for induction into the Southridge Hall of Fame.
Well, last year I came up here and I said this is all my favorite people in the whole world, and they're right back here again. So hey, give it up for everybody right here. I'd like to piggyback on Rick and recognize you've got Chad and Jessica and Kelly and Stephanie and Amy. Great job putting this thing together again. Without you guys, this thing doesn't happen. Okay. Congrats to the other inductees. Great job. You guys, the legacy you guys built here has been fabulous. But before I got talking about the guy right over there, I'd like to recognize the class of 1999. They picked a school that didn't even exist. They built the foundation. They didn't inherit tradition. What they did is they built it. Everything they did at Southridge High School, they built. And everything was a first. Everything was new. Everything was, it was hard. I mean, this journey that we went through is very hard. But they stayed with it. There was growing pains. We stuck to it. There were so many firsts, okay? I remember the first volleyball win. I think Emily was a part of that, and I think the lights went out that night. Do you remember that? Game point against Kamiak, and the lights went down. Okay, I vividly remember our first home run at Southridge High School, and he's sitting right back there. Donnie Watts hit it at Richland High School. And you know, in the middle of all this stuff, it was a definite journey, and we've all been through this thing. These guys have been a long time here, and Jake was an anchor to that dream that these guys took a chance on. All right, and without these guys, without this stuff. In fact, if you're a 1999 graduate, please stand up. 1999, stand up. Come on, get up. What you got is you got J.P. LaPompe right back there. You got Emily Raines. You got Charlie Bowers. He's an attorney in town. If you need to get out of trouble, he's your guy. You got Lance Wagner, Lance's father. Lance's father was a football assistant that took care of everybody. You got Gilby right there. Gilby was a third baseman, one of the best to come through here. You got Donnie Watts. You got Jake Burns. All right, and you got Chanda Burns right there, and she kept him going in the right direction. Okay, let's get moving along here, because Rick did say that I can get a little long-winded, but I've been here pretty long, so we'll do that. All right, Jake Quadzilla. He went by Quadzilla. He was born with some quads right there, number 45. I want to read you a text message that happened about 6 years ago, and I had the pleasure of coaching with Jake there, and I coached him and everything. But here's how it went. It said, "Been a while. Letting you know we're having the first annual Hall of Fame. induction. It would be really cool if you and a couple of the guys could attend. You started the whole thing, da-da-da-da-da. And he said, what's up, buddy? Been a while. Hope you bet. He said, oh, this is the wrong one.
Come on, Timmy.
Come on now.
Come on, Timmy.
Come on.
Come on, Texas, let's go.
There you go. All right, no, this is it. This was in 2022. Hey, great to hear from you. Boy, we were both young men when we started this place. What a rewarding experience it has been. Can you believe the 28 years since we were at Fruitland and the parking lot? So many cool memories. Still remember your inspiring speech at Richland during the summer. Thanks for taking a risk at a young age to go to this school. His reply, Donnie Watts wants me to send you his best. Crazy to think we took ground balls in the parking lot and picked broken glass out of the fairgrounds where our first baseball field was, okay? They didn't build one field, they built 2 baseball fields, okay? And before I get going with this whole thing here, we were standing back there and they were wanting to buy some drinks, and Jake said, hey, anybody, if you want to start a baseball program, don't. And he goes, I rolled more sod than you would ever imagine. And then Donnie chipped in and he said, yeah, and at the end of practice, he says, Coach says, we got 15 minutes left, let's go pick up some rocks. Because there was a lot of rocks out there. So the class of 99, thank you. You set the foundation and you got this thing moved forward, and success was sooner than it should have been. You allowed for success to happen sooner than it should have because of you guys. So thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause for those people. Okay, the family behind the man, Lily. What a sweetheart. Lily raised 2 great children, one of which was a good linebacker, the other one was a great linebacker. I'll let you guys sort that out. 8 years of some pretty good linebacker play and some really, really solid baseball play. We got his lovely wife Chandra over here, son daughter Peyton, son Landon, and Lauren. Lauren is a 6th grader at Desert Hills, and we're all Southridge in here right now, and I think we're going to have to recruit her because what I see is I got 2 of them that went to Kamiak, and the other 2 went to Southridge, so I think it's time for Lauren to come home. Okay, so we'll talk to her about that. All right, when I reached out to Jake, I called him. And every time I call the guy, he's either in like Dubai, he's in like some foreign country doing something really cool, okay? And it warmed my heart that when I called him, he was with his best buddies from Southridge High School on a river fishing. It's the coolest thing I've ever heard, and I'll promise you, because he's such a humble human being, that he never told them. Because he was embarrassed. I guarantee you that, okay? Because that's who he is, that's who he's been. All right? Jake never wanted the spotlight. He didn't want to be, he was under the radar, very humble, but extremely competitive. First time I met him, football meeting, he walked in, 5'11". He's a little shorter than he used to be. I honestly,
6'1" at that.
Okay, at that point, I seriously, he was 6'1" and 245. Actually, I think that was Joey, but the linebacker. But I said, hey, so you play football? And he goes, yeah. And I go, you play baseball? And he goes, yeah. And I go, sweet, let's go. We got a baseball player. Details mattered. Every time I had this thing where we talked about aphorism, we talked about motivational statements and all this stuff, and we'd sit down and we'd talk about characters developed in many acts and they're lost in one and all this kind of stuff, and I'd look at Jake and Jake is just locked in. I'd look at Gilby and Gilby is looking up in the sky over there. No, I'm joking, Gilby, that didn't happen, okay? But he was very intent, and I vividly remember him telling me I would go home and look up the word if I didn't understand it so I could get it. Details matter to him. Okay, and that's something I picked up very early. He was 100% effort, attitude, and attendance, except for one day. And he remembers this day. This day, he was a freshman. He was a snot-nosed kid. And there was a car waiting outside of Fruitland. And I think the driver was Duranlo was his last name, I believe. And I believe he was getting in a car to leave our winter workouts that started many, many years ago. And I said, where's Jake? And I think the attorney, Charlie, said, Coach, he just left. I said, with who? And he said, so I sprinted through the halls. I got to the car, and he's crawling in. I said, where are you going? He goes, I don't have a ride home. I said, yeah, you do. I'll take you home. Get your ass out of the car, and let's go. And that was our first conversation. I put my arm around him and walked back and said, you want to be a leader, and you want to be great, you need to be here every day. And he did. And he did. He cared about people. He was a big guy, and we started football over there at Amistad Elementary. We didn't have a football field. We didn't have a classroom. We didn't have a baseball
I think you're
field.
taking my speech.
Okay, I'm sorry. So he goes in and hits a guy, and he doesn't really hit him, but then he picks him up, and you're like, hey, you all right? And I said, Jake, we got to get it going a little bit. He goes, Coach, I don't want to hurt those. I don't want to hurt him, whatever. He cared about people, which is really cool. All right, football player. He had an offer to go play at Idaho. Loved watching him making tackles from side to side. Relentless pursuit to go get somebody. And he was ahead of Pete Carroll because he had the gator roll. He'd put his head on the wrong side. He would roll you up, and he would spin you, and he never missed a tackle, and he'd make this little noise. He'd go, hee, 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 after he made the tackle. He knows the noise. All right. Talked to Coach Troxel. I said, you were at Pasco at the time. Tell me about, you coached against Jake Burns. What did you have to do? He goes, well, that was a conversation. We had to know where he was on offense and defense. We had to be able to block him, and we had to be able to cover him. Okay, so it's very important that was there. We didn't win a lot at the time, but he was first team all conference his senior year and at tight end, and he was second team all conference at linebacker and deserved every bit of that. On to baseball, our first season, 1-15. That was fun. But I'll tell you right now, I told the guy, we were just talking over in the corner, we were 1-15, and we were winning. And I mean that. We were winning every day because we'd show up to work and we'd go to work the next day. And it was fabulous. These kids picked up more rocks, and the next year we went 9-10 with this group of kids, okay? And Jake leading the way. And got us into the playoffs that quick because of their work and what they did. First practice, I show up. Brother Paul, put your hand up. Where are you at?
Come on, Paul.
Come on, Paulie. And then Steve Davis right back there. Steve Davis, put your hand up. We showed up to practice. I said, we got ourselves a catcher. Jake Burns, he's right over there. Watch him. And I'm telling you, the first 9 throws he throws, he spikes the ball. He can't throw a baseball. I'm like, oh my God. We do not have a catcher. We had a catcher, okay? He had a little setback. He broke his ankle. Tough kid. Got out to second base and looked down. His ankle's going that way, and he's sitting there looking at me. He goes, well, that's not good, okay? So he's a tough kid. He could hit a lot. He was hitting 440. I decided I was going to teach him how to hit. That was dumb, all right? I was going to teach him how to turn on a baseball. Well, he just kept doing it, and I said, just go back to where you're doing it. Don't listen to your coach because he doesn't know what he's talking about. Leadership. It's 103 degrees outside. We're at Richland, and I always ask the team, you got anything to say? I ask the coaches, you got anything to say? And Jake had enough, and he put his hand up. And when he stood up, that was the moment I knew success had happened. He stood up, took accountability, problem solving, direction, dedication, and all of it was right there, and I went, we've done it, we got it, okay? He lit those guys up worse than I ever did, okay? And got the attention that we needed at that point, okay? Absolute pleasure to teach and coach Jake. Truly an honor to stand up here and recognize him. What a great competitor, a friend, and a family man. Proud to present 2026, Jake Burns.
Thank you so much. I guess it's only fitting that I was one of the first graduates out of Southridge, and they said, you know, Jake, you're going to go first tonight. So that's great. I don't get to follow anybody, but no, in all honesty, you know, just for a little background, and I certainly appreciate Sanders' words, but for a little background, you know, we did start at Fruitland for the first year and a half, and you know, for your high school career, that's a little confusing as your high school is, you know, currently in the construction mode or whatnot. But as you could imagine, it wasn't, you know, everybody's first choice to attend a new high school, which definitely, you know, makes for a smaller class size. You don't really have the numbers that the other high schools have, so it made sports like football very difficult as we were trying to scrounge around and grab together guys that would you know, put some pads on, but to add more confusion, we were going to Southridge, we were attending classes at Fruitland, but then we were practicing at Amistad Elementary, which is nuts. And we started to practice at Kennewick High School, I think, later in the year. But some of the funnest memories that I have, you know, are from those first couple of years. And again, you know, the numbers were down. We didn't have a lot of guys that, you know, were familiar with football. And to make a comparison, you know, I was kind of joking with my wife, you know, earlier today that it was kind of like the Little Giants. If you ever seen the Little Giants, I mean, we had guys show up. I mean, we were a lot scrawnier than we would like to admit that we were. We had guys that were wearing glasses under their helmets. You know, guys would get up, you know, making tackles, and they're looking through ear holes, and I'm like, what the hell are we doing here? Like, what are we doing? Guys, I mean, so scrawny. They're you know, their lower pads were like sagging at the hips. You know, their knee pads are not even on their knees, and just stuff like that. But you know, I can only imagine what it looked like, you know, getting out of the bus and as we're playing an opponent, you know, as you're looking to strike fear into your opponent and impose your will. There was none of that with our crew, you know. You know, high schoolers do it like, you know, during warm-ups, we all did it. You know, you're just like looking across the field. It's like, who the hell are we playing? Like, what do they look like? Yeah, no one was fearing the Southridge Suns at that point. But no, but I definitely loved our crew and you know, we had a good group of guys. You know, to be honest, you know, I think some of our early years, you know, we would go through conditioning, and we would just end up cracking up just because there were so many guys who didn't know, like, how to physically do like different like jumping jacks. Like, I'd never listened to a coach like give like actual instruction on how to do a jumping jack. It was like, it boggled my mind. We had some of the guys that would just literally just struggle with. I mean, Mulbauer had a little routine where he would do like, he would blow the whistle and he'd point a different way, and you're supposed to like swivel your hips in that different direction. We had guys that would like just couldn't do it, just uncoordinated. Again, little giants. It was great. You know, but despite the smaller class size and despite, you know, all the, you know, things that go with like a new school, you know, we had a good group of guys, and you know, I love them to death, and I wouldn't wish it any different. You know, today as I stand here, you know, we battled in just the ability to you know, take those steps and kind of start a tradition. You know, as Sanders said, was very unique. And it allowed us to just build stronger relationships along the way. I'll never regret, well, I mean, I have a little regret. Ken Mulbauer, you know, he took under his wing again, we were the first graduating class, so we were with Mulbauer and Sanders for all 4 years. So it was a unique situation, and I'll always regret that Mulbauer took us up to the University of Idaho, his alma mater, and I believe he like wanted to pass on and wanted me to go play football at University of Idaho, and and unfortunately, the body tax that football takes, I just wasn't in a position to say, I want to do it 100%. But I'll never forget him and never forget the guidance and the mentorship that he meant to me. Now going on to baseball is a little different, right? I mean, it doesn't take the toll that football takes, right? You don't have to be as physically tough and physically demanding. However, like Tim, he stole my thunder a little bit earlier. No one tells you when you're starting a baseball program that all the work and lawn maintenance and yard maintenance, and we rolled so much damn sod, I don't even know what we're doing. And we started out at the fairgrounds, which is kind of crazy to think about nowadays. And we would walk through and pick up rocks and pick up like glass in the infield. And I'll never forget all the hours we spent just rolling sod and all the fun we had. But to be honest, I don't know how one of us didn't start our own lawn business care, because we are so adverse at just rolling sod and figuring out life at that point. I was kind of in a pickle, if you will, pardon the pun, during baseball, but I was an outfielder at heart, and we needed a catcher, and I have a catcher's body. So, I mean, I don't have to tell you the story, but we needed a catcher, and I looked like a catcher, so I was a catcher. And I'll never forget one of the first games that we played out at the fairgrounds. Some guy was stealing, and I threw the ball, and I literally hit him in the neck. I don't know how it was possible. And I go back to the dugout, and I don't know who said it, and we're just sitting there like BSing or whatever, and I hear, Jesus Christ, like Jake almost killed a guy. But I mean, good scrappy team. Again, wouldn't change anything. A lot of the boys, a lot of the friendships I made along the way, we're still strong. Like Tim alluded to, we were fly fishing and hanging out. But despite some of the challenges that we face with the smaller class size, it was actually a huge benefit to some of our classmates in '99. I mean, just to be able to build like meaningful relationships and have that one-on-one, with the administrators like Ralph LeCompte, teachers like Mrs. Smith, Coombs, and coaches like Mulbauer, Davis, Julian, Tim, and Paul Sanders were just amazing, and they're amazing individuals. But I want to specifically acknowledge one coach who played a pivotal role in my development and demonstrated true leadership throughout the years that I went to Southridge, and that's Tim Sanders. And Tim, your willingness to mentor and spend extra time with a punk kid who thought he knew everything, and that will never be forgotten. Your guidance, leadership helped develop me and helped me develop determination and the resiliency that helped shape me into the person I am today. And I'm just eternally grateful for your mentorship, unwavering support, and friendship. Thank you so much. I'm honored, and I am beyond humbled to just be receiving this nomination, and I just want to say thank you.
Time. We'd like to move on to our second individual. I would like to introduce Mr. Ryan Sullivan. Oh, wait a minute. Let me push the button. We don't want to have the African safari. Mr. Ryan Sullivan to present class of 1999 graduate Emily Rain Sullivan for her induction into the Southridge Hall of Fame.
I'm Ryan Sullivan. I'm Emily's husband. So I wasn't here at Southridge. I was in Montana. We met at college. So I'm going to share a lot of our college highlights because I figured that'd be a heck of a lot more fun. But before we dive into, and I was told last week that I get to do this, and to extol the virtues of a woman you've been married to for 25 years, who's basically given up her life for me and her family in 5 minutes. To do that unemotionally might be a little challenging, so forgive me up front. But before we dive into Emily, as a former athlete, getting old with gray hair, you think about things and you kind of look back, and there's people that influence you in your life along the way that maybe aren't your parents, that give you those subtle hints to maybe steer left when you wanted to go right, kind of like Coach Sanders and Jake. Sheila Smith, if you could, please stand up. So Em and I started dating. It was her freshman year. I was a junior college transfer. We met at New Athlete Orientation in Pullman, and we dated for 3, 4, 5 months, whatever it was. And she said, "You need to come to the Tri-Cities, meet my family." And I said, "Cool." And then she said, "You're gonna meet Sheila." I'm like, "Who's Sheila?" And Sheila was Emily's track coach, mentor, and she said, "Sheila's who I want to be like when I'm old." And she goes, "She's a badass woman, she's feminine, she's tough, she's pretty, she's smart, she's everything you want to be." And so I've never met a coach or a teacher that does it for the paycheck. So please know, all you coaches here, what you do for these kids matters. It's evident in our house. It's been evident for the 26 years that Emily and I have been together. It's transitioned to my son who's graduating high school this year. It's your contributions matter, and you're doing the right things for the right reasons. So thank you. Amen. Emily was a high school volleyball player and a track athlete. She got recruited to row. Yep, doesn't correlate. She was at a volleyball tournament. Tammy Crawford, who is the founding rowing coach at WSU, she started the program, was recruiting athletes. And she saw Emily play volleyball. A few weeks later, a letter showed up in the mail and said, "Hey, give us a call if you're interested, and we'll have you over on a recruiting trip." I have no idea what happened on that recruiting trip, but here's what they don't tell you if you're going to be a rower. Okay, and if any of you know any college rowers, they're masochists. As a baseball player, we throw a ball, we hit it, we run around, we laugh, we pick rocks. Here's what a college rower does on any given day. They go to bed about 8 o'clock at night because their training starts at 5 a.m. And if you're in Pullman, where it's not particularly warm most of the year, you're getting in a car or a van and you're going to drive 30 minutes down a steep grade that's icy half the time to get into a boat that's floating on a river that's about 36 degrees. And you're going to do 2 hours of conditioning. And if anybody has ever sat on one of those little rowing machines at the gym, you're expected to pull 2,000 meters in under 7 minutes. And if anybody in this room can do that, high five. because it's very hard. You do this every morning for 2 hours, and if coach is mad because things aren't going well, you're going to run up the grade, up the Y grade. Or if the water's too choppy, you're going to run up the Y grade. Come back, might get a yogurt, get some breakfast, go to class. Then at 3 o'clock, guess what you do? You go back to the water for another 2 hours, 3 hours of conditioning. It's not a very glamorous thing, but I can tell you that if you track Washington State University sports, the WSU rowing team is probably the most continuously successful athletic program they have. When Emily was a junior, her boat placed in the top 10 at an NCAA tournament. So it's the equivalent of going to the Sweet 16. You know, it's a big deal. They beat the Huskies, which is an even bigger deal because the University of Washington's rowing program is to be like the Alabama of football, right? They're pretty good, okay? And that pains me to admit that they're very, very good. So Emily's role in the boat was, they put her in what they called the engine room. So there's 8 seats in this boat. They call it the stroke. That's the person who sits next to the coxswain, the short little person who yells, okay? And the coxswain is the one who's meant to create the rhythm of the boat so it flows smooth across the water. And the stroke of the boat is the best rower. Typically, Emily's roommate was the stroke, and she's 6'4", long body, very strong, very athletic. And then, they have different roles. Emily's role was what they call the engine room. It's the most powerful person in the boat. Okay, it's the person who can get in the boat and pull on the oars the hardest and do it for the most prolonged period of time. And she hit the varsity boat as a sophomore, which doesn't happen. Oh, here's the other thing on the recruiting trip. There's going to be 150 of you that try out. There's 16 plus 4, 20 varsity spots. And there's going to be 44 of you left at the end of the year because the other 50 to 60 of you are going to get injured or hate it so much you don't want to do it anymore. Okay. Emily hit the varsity boat her sophomore year with no experience outside of her freshman year, what she learned. In between freshman and sophomore summer, she got invited to try out for the Junior Olympic rowing program. She anchored the varsity boat in the middle for 3 seasons. Junior and senior year, they went to the NCAA tournament. Both placed in the top 15 both times. She was an all Pac-10 rower, graduated with a 3.5, 3.6 GPA, I think.
It's 9 figures up.
3.9. Still wasn't as high as mine, but we won't talk about that. Now on to a couple of, she got a lot of formal accolades as a rower, but there were things that, in my opinion, as an athlete, mean more. It's the coaches' awards, the team awards, the stuff that happens in the locker room when nobody's watching. Her first year at WSU, she won the Strength and Conditioning Award given by the strength coaches to one female athlete. Okay. Her nickname, or the award the teammates gave her, was the Chevy Award. Remember the old Chevy slogan, like a rock? She was pretty tough. Her junior year, she set the record at the WSU athletic department for female athletes for vertical leap. She could jump out of a building, and this was an athletic department. I think our volleyball team went to the Elite 8 that year, and we had a couple of jumpers and a heptathlete that were NCAA qualifiers. So it wasn't in a room full of people who couldn't jump. Okay, and this is the funniest story, and I think it's pretty cool. So her strength coach we called him Trin. His name was Gregory's son. He was from Trinidad Tobago, the little island. And one day they were doing some training, vertical jump training or leg pressure training. And he looks at her and he says, "Hey, do you think you could become a citizen of Trinidad?" She's like, "Why?" "Well, we're starting a bobsled team. And we want to go to the Olympics." And so she was officially invited to be a part of the Trinidad Tobago bobsled team. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But the reality is it was all really cool stuff, but there are no words to describe how good of a mother she is, how good of a wife she is, how good of a human she is. So that I'd like to introduce Emily.
Super introverted, not going to talk as long as any of the men have talked so far. But before I left for WSU, like not long before, Weber was like, I'm pretty sure you're going to hook up with a cute baseball player. And like 26, 27 years later, he's still like my ultimate hype man. So I know we've talked a little bit about what it was like to be at Southridge in those first years, and it was kind of wild, especially, a lot of us have older kids, so watching the traditions that have been established, my kids graduating from Southridge this year, so it really is pretty cool to look back and to be part and recognized as part of kind of what we built, because we were just kids. We didn't know what we were doing. We were dumb kids. We did a lot of dumb stuff I don't think we could talk about. My kid is way better a kid than some of us were. I did pass out one time from blocking my knees. So thank you so much for this. This is really kind of a special thing. I think most of us, as you're growing up and you're doing all of your things, you know that your parents are supporting you and that they're getting you to your practices and they're spending all of their dollars to get you to be able to do the things you want to do. But now that we have 3 little athletes we're raising and we are stretched so thin and we are spending all the time in the car and prepping all of the meals, it doesn't happen without a community. And I was thankful enough to have great parents that made it happen while raising 3 kids. So thanks, Mom and Dad. And then, we did all the volleyball. I mean, my dad and I spent 1,000 hours in the car together, and I was going to go play junior college volleyball, and then I was like, hey, I think I'm going to go to WSU and row a boat. And that, I don't know if I'd be brave enough to let my kid take a risk like that now. But so thanks, guys. It worked out okay, but what a wild, I don't think that happens now. WSU was a pretty new program when I went, so they were just literally looking for someone with big quads that could jump, and it did end up working out pretty well for me. So I guess that's okay. I was a pretty decent high school athlete. I wasn't great. I was good, but I wasn't winning state championships or any of those kinds of things. But what I did learn how to do was work my ass off. And I learned that because of Sheila. I don't want to cry, that's embarrassing. I really only had the opportunities I had later because I learned how to train really hard. I learned that muscles were cool and it was okay to sweat and to be proud of what your body could do. And take dance breaks to Baby Got Back and other mildly inappropriate rap music in the gym. But I learned to love the feeling of kind of blacking out a little bit on a deadlift max. And, Ryan talked about rowers being a masochist, and there is a little bit of that, but there's learning to train hard and love the process and turning your brain off a little bit and letting your body do what your body is capable of. And I only learned that because of Coach Smith. I never, ever, ever would have had any of the opportunities I had later if I hadn't learned to love the grind and love burning lungs and ODP and kind of feeling like you might throw up or pass out. And I still like to do that. I threw up at the gym 2 months ago. So, it doesn't ever really leave you, I don't think. So I think it's got to be 80% of Southridge athletes could probably trace their success back to the Smiths. So I fully anticipate an induction here shortly. So thanks, you guys. That's kind of it for me. Ryan he had a lot to say, so thanks. I'll keep it short. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, I'd like to start our 3rd induction of the evening. I would like to introduce our only girls track and field head coach, Mrs. Sheila Smith. to present 2001 graduate, Mr. Ben Hampton, for induction into the Southridge Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, Sheila Smith.
Good evening. At first, I just want to congratulate all of our former sons that are recognized this evening, and it's wonderful to see all of you and your families. I just love this day. Last year was just such an awesome start, and I've been looking forward to this all year. So when we met to talk about our Hall of Fame award winners for 2026, we really talked a lot about those that paved the way for everyone else. That's kind of been a common theme tonight. And you guys were really courageous and unselfish in coming to a new school that had no traditions and really no programs. I had Jake Burns in my first year Spanish class at the Fruitland building back in the day.
Omar.
I was about to say, was your Spanish name Omar? It's right here in my notes.
Okay.
And Jake was fun and silly and a really good athlete, and he was a popular guy, so it's no surprise that he would pursue the lovely Chandra, who's still by his side today. Congratulations, you two, you defied the odds. Jake helped build a foundation for other athletes coming through our programs, and that brings me to Tyler Matera, who I was blessed to have in my third year Spanish class. A few years later in the beautiful new building, Tyler chose the Spanish name Te Adoro, which is almost identical to the phrase Te Adoro, or I adore you. What a perfect phrase to describe a person that truly has been loved and adored by all of us.
Yeah.
Next, I do have to give a shout out to Emily Rains Sullivan. Emily competed in field and track for us, and she was a very good athlete. But what made her unique is that she was the first female athlete to receive a Division I scholarship. And I attribute that to the time that she spent in the weight room. She set a standard that has had lasting impact. In fact, just a few weeks ago, Nicole Hatcher shared with me that she remembers being a freshman and seeing Emily Rains receive our strength and conditioning award at our track and field banquet. She was really inspired by that and decided that she wanted to be worthy of that award the following year. Nicole then became the inspiration for many other athletes, both male and female, to get in the weight room and train. So that was cool to come here tonight and see that you were honored with the Strength and Conditioning Award once you got to WSU.
Yeah.
And now for the star of my speech this evening, Mr. Ben Hampton. When I met Ben, he was about my height. He was gangly and goofy, and I had no idea what I was in for. We had a rocky start. I can be playful and fun, but I also have high expectations of my athletes. About the second time, Skinny Benny and his buddy T-Dub, Travis Walker, came rolling out nonchalantly to track practice, late, with a basketball in hand, and the completely invalid excuse that they were chatting with the basketball coach. I was ready to cut the strings. I marched up to Hami, who was the boys' head coach at the time, probably with one hand on hip and another one pointing out the problem. It might have looked a little something like this. And let him know I was not putting up with this garbage. Hami had been coaching for at least 100 years by then. I'm not sure, but I do know he was my husband's kindergarten PE teacher. That's factual. This gave him a lot of experience and the wisdom to handle the situation without sending the kid home with his basketball and a swift kick to the behind. That first year was an interesting one, and I think there were more palm to forehead moments than I can count. At least he did end up being a good basketball player, and I was proud of him as his jumps coach that he could dunk. Fast forward to Ben's sophomore year. He's still playful, Ben, spending more time socializing than practicing his events, but he's also starting to realize that he actually might want to be competitive. We had a league meet at Davis High School in Yakima. Nicole and Kristen can tell you that they were a little afraid to get off the bus. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it was gonna get him. It was a scary place. It wasn't the best facility. The runway may have been a conveyor belt, but there was a nice tailwind, and somehow, by the grace of God, Ben hit 40 feet even in the triple jump, which is the exact qualifying mark that he needed to qualify for the prestigious Pasco Invite. I was excited for him, but then I thought about what I was going to do with this young man that spent more time beatboxing into a baton than working on the triple jump while at practice. I can't say that week of practice leading up to Pasco Invite was anything different. Typically, there was more concern about keeping his giant head of hair fluffed up and looking 6'7". It's gonna turn good here. But then the day of the meet came, the Pasco Invite. This happy-go-lucky, carefree, confident teenage boy shows up and he is about to pee down his leg. He looked really nervous. Okay, he looked terrified. I'm kind of chuckling to myself a little bit, thinking about all the practices where he was kind of transient, wandering around the field with a deck of cards doing magic tricks. Sunbathing on the high jump pits or playing the latest song. But then he said to me, "Coach, I'm like the worst jumper here." It was at that moment that I realized he must have found out that he was ranked number 60 out of 60 jumpers. And he actually cared. My response, "No, you're not. You're just not as good as the other ones." Yeah. For the first time, he looked at me almost in desperation and said, "Coach, what do I need to do?" And I gave him all the warm-ups, and he was just Johnny on it. From that moment forward, he was locked in. It instantly became, "Yes, coach." He warmed up properly for maybe the first time in his life, and when it came time to jump, he hit a big enough jump to make it to finals. He left that day ranked, he came in dead last and number 60 out of 60, and he left with a second place finish and a personal best of 44 feet 8 inches. Wow. Almost 5 feet better than the jump he put together at the previous meet, which included a tailwind. Over the next 2 years, he was the most coachable and amazing young man. He went on to win the Pasco Invite. Did you win it twice? Maybe once. I know you won it. He discovered that he jumped better when he had IHOP for breakfast. So he became IHOP and I became iCoach. We had an amazing coach-athlete relationship and we made a great team. The jumping nicknames were passed along to his younger brothers. Shane was UPS or UPS, and Dominic became Domino's Delivers Hot and Fresh. He went from being a freshman that could barely make it into the pit to a junior who was jumping straight out of the pit. I started calling him straight out of Hampton. Ben had an amazing junior year and senior year was even better. I believe Ben was undefeated his senior year in the triple jump until we got to regionals. There was a guy that Ben nicknamed Buster that had a little bit better day that day, and it was tough. I was bummed out, but Ben was always positive, and he found a way to turn anything negative into something positive. He said, "It's okay, Coach. This is the exact motivation I need for state." Well, we got to state, and even though his hair was on point, with braids and everything, things weren't going super great. He had a lot of adrenaline, and his steps were all over the place. His stride was the length of an Olympic swimming pool, so trying to adjust his steps required the expertise of an aerospace engineer. Finally, he got to his last jump. I was a nervous wreck. At this point, the tables had turned, and he was comforting me. I was trying to calculate how far he needed to move back because he had just fouled, and he said something like, "Don't worry, Coach. We got this, Coach." This confident and hopeful young man took a giant step back on the runway. I mean, it was like big. It's probably like this. Usually in adjustments in the jumps, we'll go a couple inches. I think you moved back like a yard. I might have buried my hands in my face. almost unable to watch. Somehow he uncorks a 48-foot triple jump, wins state, and hits the mark that he needed to earn his scholarship to WSU. It truly was one of the greatest days of my life. Ben wasn't just a jumper to me. He was family. I have so many fond memories of Ben. To this day, there are certain songs that play and I think of him, such as Fresh and Clean or Roll Out. He made the best highlights videos set to music. He was ahead of his time and his love of creating videos launched him into his career. Ben always had a crowd of people around him. To his boys, I know they're not here, but they're going to see, hopefully, a recording. You might only know him as Dad, but your dad had aura. You could give him a wooden spoon, a spatula, and a pan, and he would create a song with the best beats. He did magic shows for kids' birthday parties, did amazing impersonations. He was an athlete, a comedian, and a musician. He was even fluent in German, so he could talk on the phone to his grandparents in Germany. I didn't believe him until I went to your senior party and you were on the phone with Oma speaking fluent German. It's cool. He was Mr. Southridge, and he was everybody's friend. In closing, I want to call up one of his teammates, Nicole Hatcher, who always has my bows, to share a couple of funny memories about Ben before we call him to the stage.
So just a couple funny memories of Ben, and I was kind of recalling some of them when we went to the basketball game and he was honored there. Was our AD at the time was Steve Bean, and Ben would always mimic his announcement. It was, can you do it real quick?
I'll do it on the mic.
Okay, he'll do it on the mic. It was spot on. He also, he was just very, very creative, and so he had his magic tricks. I think his mom bought candies at Costco and he would sell it in his backpack. And so he was definitely an entrepreneur. But the most fondest memory I have of him is just being a solid friend. And I just wanted to thank him so much for that. And it was just an honor to have him as a teammate in high school, but then also to have him as a teammate going into college. And so it was both of our freshman year at WSU, and it was our first track practice, and Coach Sloan was telling us what the workout was supposed to be. And it was like some 3 to 5 mile run. And I'm a sprinter. I don't do distance. And he starts saying, you're going to go this way, and then you're going to turn on this street, and then you're going to do this, and then that, and then you're going to hit this hill, and blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And he's like, and do not walk. And I was like, so afraid. And Ben must have been standing next to me. And I was like, Ben, well, please, 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 do not leave me. And he's like, I won't. And I was like, no, I'm serious. Don't leave me when we go for this run. And to his character, he did not leave my side the whole run. And so I super appreciate that, and you're just an awesome friend.
I just wanted to point out also that this group of the class of 2002 is a really special group. And I wanted to thank Ben's family, too. You guys are amazing people, and you raised a wonderful son, and I love you guys. Ben Hampton.
One brief announcement. Will all the girls come to the office, please?
That was my Mr. Bean. I haven't done that in 24 years. But it was nasally. It was
One brief announcement. Will all the girls...
Anyway, I'm glad I got to do that because I don't know how I was going to get up here and talk after listening to that introduction. Thank you for having me. Thank you for this night, just looking out here, just seeing people that I haven't seen. This gentleman right here, Matt, haven't seen him for
a long time. And just looking out and seeing people that you haven't seen for a long time, this is just a great night, and I thank you for letting me be a part of it. My boys aren't here tonight. They were going to come tonight, but they're playing baseball. My youngest has a baseball tournament, and we thought it would be important for him to be there for his team. And that's exactly what I was taught. It was to be there for your team and to do the things that you're meant to do. And I'm glad he's there today, but he's going to see this video, see the people that were here tonight, and they're going to know exactly what this means to us. And I'm honestly like sitting here at this table listening to people call her Sheila. Sheila, I'm like, who is Sheila? I've never in my life thought of you as Sheila. Sheila's going to be here tonight to introduce you. Who is Sheila? That is Smith. And if you're me, you pronounce it with an F. Smith. That's Miss Smith. So I'm gonna keep it short, but I played basketball, but I kind of want to focus on the track because that's kind of one of my favorite things to think about. I joined track because everybody was doing track. I wanted to hang out. It was something after basketball season, just hang out, just kick it with people all day long, just eat snacks and sit under a tent, sit on a blanket, throw something, jump something, run something. But it got serious. And I kind of liked it. I was like, okay. I can jump. God gave me these long legs and blessed me with some health and some abilities. I can do this. And I kind of want to think that my whole track career had an asterisk behind it. You know, you get a wind-aided jump when the wind's at your back. It's a little further and you get an asterisk. My whole track career got an asterisk. And you know why? Because Smith was back there. She saw something in me in the beginning, and she helped me cultivate it. She helped me use it. She motivated me, and I know a lot of people here tonight know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, it's obvious. So I think my track career definitely got an asterisk. And if I didn't pronounce that right, it's okay. Asterisk? I have one of those. I want to thank my parents. Track and field is a hard thing to watch as a parent. You go there, you're sitting there all day long for 2 jumps. When are you up? I don't know. I'm after a high jump. I'll have 2 jumps, 3 jumps, probably. You can watch. And they're there all day. You can't just come when you're jumping. You're pretty much there all day long. And I want to thank them for believing in me. Thank you for signing us up, taking us, letting us go in basketball and all other sports that we did. And I kind of just want to tie this all up to the end here. I think having Miss Smith believe in me, give me the guidance, the belief she had in me to get me to just jump at my full potential, win a state track meet, eventually get a scholarship to WSU, go Cougs. I kind of want to just, all of that kind of led to what's happening right now in our lives. Me and my wife, my lovely wife. We have 2 great boys. They're amazing, and I don't think that would happen. That would have happened if all of this didn't happen here with Southridge sports, the guidance, and just thank you guys for having me. Congratulations to all the other inductees. This is awesome. I can't wait to come back next year to see the new inductees. And thank you guys so much for having me.
It gives me a distinct pleasure to introduce 2025. I don't know why we're going to 24. Now it's time for, I'm looking at 04 up there. 2025 Hall of Famer Travis Moose-Mater to present his brother for induction into the Hall of Fame.
This is awesome to be up here again. Last year was a night that I will never forget for the rest of my life, and we get to do it again this year for my brother, which is just as special or even more special for me to get to introduce him. And we have even more family members here, all the cousins and aunts and uncles. So thank you guys so much for being here as well. But I'm incredibly honored to get to introduce my brother, Tyler Mater, to the 2026 Hall of Fame. Just 1 year after me, so congrats for just being 1 year after me. All kidding aside, he got me to where I was. It's amazing having a brother like Ty, and it's really cool to be the first siblings to be in the Hall of Fame, something that we'll get to share with our kids. I have a 4-month-old at home, which is really cool. I get to share that with him. And Charlie, I don't know where he's.
Where the hell is Charlie?
Hey, there's Charlie. You don't know Dad as an athlete, but he was a pretty badass athlete. Growing up, Ty was my best buddy. He was my biggest competition. He was my worst enemy as well. He was my personal trainer. I looked up to him the most at every single thing I did, whether it was playing handball in the house or basketball in the driveway or pissing our parents off by wrestling in the living room. I just wanted to be like Ty and get to be around all of his friends, which I got to play with some of his friends, which, never mind. Side note, stay on track. I realized Ty at a young age was really good at everything he did. He did look like he was 25 at 12. He had to carry his birth certificate around as a 12-year-old at the World Series in Vincennes, Indiana, because these moms were yelling at him that he was cheating. He was really 12, he just matured at a very young age. He was very good at everything he did, and I wanted to be like him. And I said it last year when I was up here, but every time Ty scored a touchdown, I was up in the stands, and I would say, "That is my brother," and I would shout it out so proudly. And I got to say it a lot of times because he scored a lot of touchdowns. My parents' printer did not work, I have to say, so I'm having to look on a small screen.
No, he's doing real estate deals right now. Tell him.
We actually watched a couple of his Grid Kid football games on VHS. He sent me some videotapes, and it was... Derrick Henry has nothing on Tyler Mater when it comes to videos, if you've ever seen Derrick Henry's highlight videos. He was a man-child that I don't even remember it was that drastic of a difference. He was that good among little children. He was small in stature, but quads of Sasquatch. And these stats will tell you exactly why he was so good and why he is getting honored tonight. Ty was an 8-time letter winner in 5 different sports. Not many people can say that. 3 in football, 2 in wrestling, 1 in baseball, 1 in soccer, 1 in track. He was a freak athlete at everything he did, and it was because of his determination. I feel like if Ty was taller in stature, I don't think he would have been as good as he was because he had to overcome the size differential, and I will take him up against any person, any day, any size. In his junior year, when he really took off in football, against Davis, he ran for 224 yards. In his junior year against Eisenhower, he ran 263 yards, which was a school record at the time. I know there was a good running back. He might be here, I don't know. But I'll still take Ty up against you, whoever that is. Junior year, 263 yards against Eisenhower. Eisenhower had a rough go because the senior year, Ty ran 273 yards against him the next year. I looked through my mom's scrapbook, and every week it looked like he won Athlete of the Week. Two-time first-team all-area running back. Two-time Big Nine Offensive Player of the Year. Two-time All-State first-team honors. He had 44 career touchdowns, 3,628 career rushing yards, 4,784 all-purpose yards. Steve Davis is checking me right now. I can tell it's Statmaster up there. Blame it on Carol's scrapbook if that ain't right. He did all this with a 3.9 GPA. He's an incredible human being, the best dad. The best dad possible to Charles. And I'm so honored to welcome you to the Hall of Fame. Ty.
Hey guys. How about now? Let me get this a little taller up here. I think right here, yeah. Look, when I came in tonight and I saw these young Southridge people like looking at me like, who is this little like, what is this dude? Let me tell you something. Let's go out. Can I just have like all my extended family stand for me and just like, or I just raise their hand? Nobody wants to, but yeah. Can all my extended family like? We have like a horde here, and I'm so glad that they can all make it, and I'm like overwhelmed to have so many people here. I planned on this for so long. Like Moose the other night was just, dude, you gotta have something. And I'm like, man, I have been thinking about this for so long since Wells. I gotta get this off of here. Don't fall. It is tough to be tall, I guess. Leaning forward all the time. I mean, geez. From the time I was 9 or 10, I mean, sports were life. I was a good student to be an athlete. Everything was driven towards, being that. And I mean, looking back, I wish somebody would have like shooken me and been like, dude, you're 5'6", you're having a great career, like in high school. Like, don't worry about not making like college, like who cares? But if I would have been up here, even 10 years ago, I would have been like, it's almost a dishonor. Like I had such high expectations. I had such ambitions to be everything. And for, the first 10 years of my life when I was, shaving when I was 9 years old, I mean, I was a man among kids. Like I pulled out this VHS the other day because I was trying to get, Weber some film or whatever, and it was unfair. It was unbelievable. I understand every single parent that hated me for like, 8, 10 years, whatever. It was unfair. I mean, I should have known when I started like having to shave my ears like my junior, senior year. I mean, who else out there is doing that? And so long ago, it was, I don't know, all of my athletic, anything you would talk about was disdain to me. It was, it just brought a lot of sadness. And to be here tonight, though, is so unbelievable. Moose had texted me back with Wells. Yeah, he's right there. That's Moose, huh? And Moose had texted me and said, hey, like, can you talk at 1:30? And I was like, I guess, yeah, I'll talk to you about me paying you guys rent, you know, because, anyway, that's a long story, but I fought really, really hard for like quite a few years, just, and it's, I don't know, when he got on the phone and Wells was on the phone, and I mean, I literally started crying. I was at one of my clients' houses, you know, washing their windows, just trying to make some extra cash. And I when they said, you're gonna be in the Hall of Fame, I'm just like, how funny life is, how serendipitous it is that, you know, even like 5-10 years ago, I would have been like, whatever, you know. It didn't give me a college degree, it didn't give me anything. But I was so happy and needed it so bad that it, I don't know, it meant and it still means so much to me. And to have all these people here, like, is amazing. It's so great to me to have my son, to have Moose, like, I don't know, we've already gone long, but I appreciate all of you guys coming. I mean, all I did was freaking carry a football around. I mean, geez, like, it's not that big a deal, but I don't know. It means so much to me at now, and then also to be subbing it at Southridge and seeing everybody. I mean, will anybody buy this? And so I don't gotta, you know, donate plasma this week? No. Oh, don't shake your head at me, Moose. Go do your $100,000 deals, whatever, man. But thank you all so much for being here. It means so much to me. And go Southridge. Thank you.
So it gives me great pleasure to introduce our swim coach, Mr. Jason Hart, to present for induction 2006 graduate, Cassie Hamilton.
First of all, congratulations to all the people inaugurated. It's been awesome to be here. And, you know, to you 1999 people, I'm on staff at Sageview. And I walk around there as the new school in town, and it's like, I remember back to the days when we were in Fruitland, because I was here in '96. So, anyway, so I'm here to induct Cassie, my very, very good friend. And I met her in 1997 when she was 8, yeah, and she swam on a club team that I was coaching for. So, you know, and right there, she was simply a ball of fire, and I think anybody that knows her would agree with that. You know, and I'm so emotional and humbled to be talking about you today. You're one of my favorite people in the world, man. So, when I think about this, and I had a job interview once that said, what 3 terms would describe you as a coach? Well, I'm going to tell you this for you as an athlete. Term number 1, competitor. She is the most competitive person I've ever coached. And I go back to something, Steve Bean was a big fan of Cassie. And we were talking one day in his office about this and that, and Cassie played basketball her junior year. And I said, so, you know, how was Cassie in the basketball court? Because I knew she played AAU when she was younger and all that type of stuff. And she was like straight up, because back then Southridge girls basketball kind of struggled a little bit. And she said, Cassie makes our basketball team competitive. She's fiery, she's feisty, she hated losing. Oh man, did she hate losing. And that's what I get out of that. The next term I have for her, she is a great human. She always has been. She cares about the people she's around, like so many of us that are in this room today. But she's really transcended that to later in life. In her job, she runs the office for Bob Rhodes, her family business, and she uses that forum as far as marketing and really sponsors several programs, several here at Southridge, specifically girl programs. And you talk with her, and she is so proud and so advocating for girls in sports. And she's doing something about it. She's doing stuff that matters. And being a coach of a girls program here at Southridge, really appreciate it. So, and the last one I have here is determined. Oh my goodness gracious, is she determined. If there's a task put in front of her, it is next level, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. You can see that look in her eye that she's always had. Cassie, every kid I've coached now for 30 years. Every kid I've coached since you knows about Cassie Hamilton. Every single one. And it isn't even about how fast you are. You are fast, no question, but it is about the type of person that you are. So, my story that I want to talk about, and actually Steve would tell you it was one of his favorite moments ever being an athletic director, was in swimming, we go and we have dual meets against different teams. And we definitely had a rivalry with Richland back then, as far as swimmers go. And she will tell you the same thing. Borderline beef, right? Borderline beef. And we were a little thinner than they were. We were faster in some ways, but we were a little thinner. So I had to put Cassie in specific events in order to give us a chance to win that dual meet. And what I did was, event 6 is 100 fly, and event 7 is 100 freestyle. That's what she did. And I was able to plug in some JV swimmers in there to give her about a 3 or 4 minute break. She does 100 fly. I don't care if you go faster, you still 100 fly is hard. It's just as hard. She goes in there and wins 100 fly. And she goes and she jumps in the warm-up pool, and she's swimming down, and we're watching one of these girls from Richland who ended up getting 6 to state and 100 free. We knew she was fast. Her name was Michelle McDonald. And Cassie's walking, getting up there, and she was like, come on. I was like, you got this, girl. Let's go. So she gets up there, and it's Michelle against Cassie. And Bean thinks I'm crazy for putting Cassie in this spot. Well, they battle. They go back and forth. Cassie was faster in the water. Michelle was a little better at the walls. And Cassie goes 54.24. Michelle goes 54.3. Michelle was rested. Cassie had 3 minutes rest after 100 fly. That is how determined she is. That is how it is. She never lost a Big 9 meet. Never lost in a Big 9 meet. Not ever. Freshman to senior year, she never lost. And she's talented, but there were more talented out there. It was because of your determination. And so much respect for that. So anyway, kudos to you, Cassie, for that. That's my story. I'll tell you, Steve Bean was literally on top of my coach's table. It was crazy. He was literally up to going, just flexing his muscles and doing the Steve Bean thing and all that type of stuff. It was pretty amazing. So, Cassie's accomplishments. I have a list here. By the way, Wells told me it'd only be between 2 and 5 minutes. I want you to know, no one else has been between 2 and 5 minutes. He told me, go shut up, Jason. Don't be talking too much. All right, bear with me here. Undefeated in Big 9 meets. All right, undefeated. Easy, and she swam everything. And this goes with it. She qualified for state by time in every event. All 4 years. Freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. I don't think there are more than 2 or 3 people in the state that have done that. It's pretty amazing. And at the last dual meet, when she did, Mr. Bean walked up and gave her a plaque. You still have that plaque? A plaque of all the stuff that she did and all this and that. She was all 4 years top 8 in state. Top 8 in state. First 2 years, she did 100 breaststroke, 200 IM. Second 2 years, she did 100 backstroke, 200 IM. Pretty amazing feat. Among that, she got second in the 200 IM twice. She got second in the 100 back once. And then culminating it in 2005 with one of the gutsiest performances I've ever seen. She was state champion in the 200 IM. It was pretty amazing. And she did that. Michael Jordan, game 5 of whatever, 1996, 97 finals, had nothing on her because she got out, she was booking by me, and she was like, I can't talk right now. She's running the bathroom, and Micah, her teammate that's back there, was telling stories about how she was thrown up in the bathroom after that swim. The swim was crazy because it was like, in prelims, she wasn't feeling real good. She was seeded 6 coming out of prelims, and way out in lane 7, she had probably a second lead coming out of the 50 fly. Do you remember that? And we were like, fly, all right, Cass, whatever. She definitely worked and finished it. State champion, no one's ever going to take that away from you. It's pretty amazing. She did that sick as a dog. It was crazy. But anyway, so much guts and so much perseverance. She also, after throwing up, proceeded to do the 100 backstroke, swam finals, and then she anchors our 400 free relay that we had at the end of the meet going 54-1. It was an impressive day. You had faster swims. That day was so much more impressive because it showed your heart. So the type of heart that all us coaches want to teach our kids, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, I'll continue. Up until 2016, she held every single school record individually. And then she still holds 4 records. I was wrong. I actually went to school today to check. Yeah, she holds the 200 free. That's the one we didn't know about. She holds the 100 back, the 200 IM, and 100 breaststroke. She was an All-American. She was an All-American, 3-time All-American, and had qualified with the consideration times otherwise. So it's pretty impressive. She was a 2-time league district swimmer of the year. She was a district champ all 4 years, both her events. That's an 8-time district champ. She led our relays to some pretty incredible swims. We had districts her junior year up in Ellensburg, and it was homecoming, right? And these girls, they set the meet record in the 400 free relay. We're just going crazy. And then I hear stories 2 hours later where they are dancing the night away with their chlorine hair, yeah, totally. It's such a cool story. So anytime girls complain to me about homecoming, I'm like, it was different back in the day. All-American 03, 04, 05. We once had this meet in Idaho, and I promised her I'd tell this story because she told me about it twice. And when you go to Idaho, there are boys and girls that swim in Idaho. And I was always just trying to find different stuff for us to do and compete with. And we were at this little pool in Plummer, Idaho, a reservation pool. It was pretty. It was a fun trip. We slept on the floor in some school, and we go to this meet, and there was a boy sitting there talking trash about having to swim against a girl and how he's going to whip their, you know what, right? Well, Cassie got wind of this, and Cassie killed him. Oh my goodness, it wasn't even close. And then she comes over here. I was like, dude, you made him cry. True story. Yeah, true story. He was weeping and so upset because he got beat by Cassie Hamilton. And the thing is, most of us know Cassie Hamilton was beating just about anybody. Yeah, it didn't matter. So, but she still. We were talking about that yesterday at lunch. So, we all talked. She went to Michigan State on a scholarship. She traveled all sorts of different places. I think she actually came back and told me about a trip to South Carolina. Yeah. So. But she went over there, got her degree and all that type of stuff. I would probably say, in my opinion, she's the best swimmer we've ever had out of Southridge. She's one of 2 state champions that we've had. And I can tell you, without hesitation, she is the most versatile swimmer I've ever coached. Everything. She could do everything, man. And, and all that aside, my favorite memory of you, my favorite coaching accomplishment was helping you be a leader, helping you be the great teammate that you are, and then sit there and have conversations with you now, and you understand what sports are all about. You think so many people with her resume, it was just about the competition, it was just about that. No, it's about every single person on that team. And she treated all the girls so wonderfully, and that makes my heart melt. Most of all, working with you was fun because I'm feisty, she's feisty, her teammates are feisty. She was part of the 6-pack that we got 6th state in 2004. She was part of that. You know, and that feistiness and this and that. I mean, her and Mikey used to make me listen to baseball games because they were Yankee fans. Don't fall to us. Don't fall to us. But yeah, we did. We listened to the Yankee Red Sox games during practice back then in 04. So I can say that your legacy was felt. Anybody that knows anything about what was going on, I think you made swimming relevant at Southridge. You know, and 3-4 years later, our team of 12 that we had your freshman year, we had 55 kids on that team. And I'm telling you right now, Cassie, that was about some of that swagger and attitude that you brought, you know, to us and for us. I'm humble, and I'm grateful that you gave me the opportunity to speak for you and celebrate one of my favorite people on one of my favorite teams I've ever coached. Let's give it up for Cassie Hamilton.
So this year is actually 20 years since I graduated, and public speaking has not gotten easier, so I'm really sorry. I'll do my best. It's actually really cool to get this here. When I was born, my grandparents had a pool, and it was really important that we all learned how to swim just in case something happened, and my very first swim lessons were actually here when it was the country club, so I actually learned to swim in that pool. The other thing is, a couple years ago, Zintel started doing their own honoree. And for people who put a lot of work into the club and just helped it out every way they could. And the first person they nominated was actually my dad. So he has a plaque downstairs. And for those of you I gave golf passes to, if anyone wants more, I still have them. But down at the pro shop, there's a nice little memorial for him. And there's a rock that says Birdie for Bob. So if you ever go down there, that's my dad. And I like to think he's here right now. Okay, get over that. Swimming was very controversial when I was swimming. I know it sounds silly because it's girl sports, but it's definitely interesting when I was going through Southridge. There's no way I could have made it all 4 years if it wasn't for Jason. He's a chameleon of a coach. He does not coach the sport, he coaches the athlete, and he'll get to know every athlete, what makes them tick, what makes them motivate them, their goals, and he just knows how to make the best out of everyone come out. And it was so cool. With our team, there was club swimmers, ex-club swimmers, age group swimmers, and there's people who've never swam before that would try out. And Jason would just get to know all of them and just created this culture where we're all in different levels, but everyone cared about everyone. And it was important, everyone racing, we all cared what they did and we knew what they were going for. And it was just such a wonderful environment. And growing up in sports, I had dozens of coaches, but I never had a coach 55 kids, he knew every single one how they would operate. So for me, I was very competitive and didn't like getting told what I couldn't do. So right before big races, when he'd do the 100 fly and then 100 free back to back like that, he would just walk up to me and be like, "So Richland coaches don't think you can do this," and he knew how I felt about them, and that really pissed me off. So that definitely got me going. He did that quite a bit. He knew he'd just hear little things and keep in his back pocket and would just present it at the right time, the right moment, just to fire me up, and it was great, kept the challenges going. I think one of the greatest things about swimming and just high school sports, I am in a position now, and no offense to anyone here, but I only sponsor girls sports because I just think it's so important for girls to be in that community because it's so much more than just a sport itself. Something I really appreciate now is Micah and I have been friends for 3 decades, and that started because of swimming. We met when she joined the club team, and apparently afternoon practices and weekend swim meets weren't enough, so we harassed her parents an obnoxious amount until they let her go to public school so we could go to school together full time. And then we got to go to high school together and swim in the swim team, and our relay held the record. We had all 3 relay records together, and just having that moment with your best friend is just so cool. And I know 2 of the records have been broken, which is wonderful because that shows how well the program's still doing. And I mean, we graduated and I got to visit her in every region she got to live in, and now she's a mom. It's just so cool, and sports are just so much bigger than that. And I'm just so grateful that my parents just had that mentality of tired kids aren't going to get in trouble, so we're going to put them in every sport possible. So I'm just really grateful. And so I just thank you. Keep it short and sweet because this is terrifying. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
This brings us to our final inductee, and then there will be a couple of other remarks following that. So when Heather finishes, if everybody could hang on for a second, that would be fantastic. This doesn't mean to sound this way, but I do need you guys to be a little quieter for this next part here. We're going to present Heather, I knew her as Johnson, now soprano. And the individual she had originally asked to do this was one of her teammates. And Emma can't be here tonight with us, so we've got Tim, but we got a little surprise.
Good evening, everyone. It's truly an honor to recognize Heather as our newest Hall of Fame inductee. I've had the unique privilege of playing alongside Heather from childhood to high school. From sharing the field on our U10 summer travel team to competing for a high school state title, one thing has always remained the same. You want a Heather Johnson on your team. As a grade below her, I had a front row seat to her greatness. I was her teammate, her friend, and, of course, her biggest fan. From the moment that she stepped onto the field at Southridge, it was clear that she was different. Not just talented different, but the kind of player that coaches build game plans around and opponents lose sleep over. A 4-year starter, Heather scored 104 career goals, becoming just the third player in league history to surpass the 100-goal mark alongside Hope Solo. To put it into perspective, our soccer team this year scored 17 goals during this 2026 season. Heather alone averaged 25 goals per season. That's absolutely elite. She helped lead Southridge to league championships in 2008, 2010, and 2011. As a junior, she was named the Washington State 3A Player of the Year after leading Southridge to a third-place finish at state, the first in school history. During that season, she tallied 31 goals and 17 assists. As a team, we scored 82 goals, meaning that more than half of our offense directly ran through Heather. As a senior, she broke her own school record with 32 goals. She led the CBBN in scoring and earned Tri-City Herald Player of the Year honors. The resume speaks for itself. Some people rise to the moment, but Heather just lived there. But what made Heather special wasn't just the stats, it was her presence. Every week, our strategy was pretty simple. Defend well, win the ball, find Heather's feet. She would take care of the rest, and she always did. It didn't matter who we were playing. Once the ball reached her, something special was about to happen. And if you were on the other team, I guarantee you were rethinking your defensive strategy and most likely your positional choice, especially if you played defense or goalie. And let's talk about practice for a second, because Heather had one speed, and that was compete. There was no taking it easy. No one wanted to line up across from her in a 1v1 drill, especially me. You knew two things were guaranteed. She was going to compete like it was a state championship, and she was probably going to score on you. I personally learned that the hard way, and for the sake of my pride, we're not going to talk about it anymore. We're going to leave it right there. But here's the thing. Heather didn't just dominate, she elevated. She made every teammate better because she demanded more, not just with words, but with effort. She did the little things right. She competed with fire, but always with sportsmanship. She led with intensity, but also with heart. She demanded excellence, first from her and then from everyone else around her. And when the stakes were the highest, Heather didn't just rise to the moment, she owned it. During our 2011 postseason run, with our starting goalkeeper sidelined, we found ourselves headed into a shootout that would determine our path forward. Heather stepped up as both the shooter and our goalkeeper. She made a save, she buried her penalty, and we won the shootout 4-2 because apparently scoring 100 plus goals wasn't just enough. She decided she could stop them too. Off the field, Heather embodied everything that you would want in a Hall of Famer. She was a true student athlete who took pride in her academics. She was a captain who led with integrity and heart. She was the teammate you trusted, the friend who showed up, and the competitor who always balanced fierce intensity with sportsmanship. Today, she carries that same purpose into every role that she holds as a professional, as a wife, and a mother. She still seeks growth, she's still competing, and she's still leading. Heather didn't just score goals, she built a culture. She raised expectations. She set a standard that continues to shape this program to this day. And for those of us that were lucky enough to share the field with her, we know that we witnessed something truly special. It's my absolute honor to welcome my teammate, my friend, and one of the fiercest competitors I've ever known into the Hall of Fame. Please join me in celebrating Heather. Congrats. I miss you, and I'm so sad that I can't be there, but I'm so proud of you. Have such an amazing evening, Heather.
I have nothing prepared. I have postpartum brain, so even remembering yesterday is very hard. But I just want to thank everyone who's here tonight. Emma Sanders, who's been obviously a big part of my life, especially with soccer, and the kind words that she's shared. So I thank her for that. The Sanders family have been a big part of my life. I'm not sure where Jill is here. She was here. Oh, there she is. So yeah, looking back at high school, I totally forgot the whole goalkeeping thing, honestly. I think one of the biggest things I remember is getting stuck on the bus. We got high-centered when we left, not even a mile from Southridge. So we were stranded for, I think, a good 2 hours there.
Stranded bus.
Yes. So the biggest thing is just thanking my family, my mom, my grandma, always showing up to every single game. High school, Gonzaga, and I even still play today. I haven't now since I've had kids. But, I also don't know a ton of people here, so new faces, so it's been good. And you guys are all, I have no idea what I'm saying. I'm blacking out a little bit and shaking. And obviously emotional from Emma's sweet message. So there's one person I did want to thank, and a lot of you have thanked, Miss Smith and Nicole Hatcher. One thing I've really taken from my time is the strength and conditioning side of things. I love the summer program you guys put on for the female athletes. I still today, that's a big part of my life. I got to coach at NC State University as a strength and conditioning coach, so that was a great opportunity. Working with student athletes, and so I got to see it from the other side of the coin. So that's something I hold dear to my heart. So thank you too for putting that on for the student athletes, and especially those females. Cassie for wherever she went. How important it is too, how you are. I didn't realize, you only, sponsor female sports, and that's amazing because female athletes, I believe it's a big role in understanding that they are strong. So just like you said, Emily, like being strong, muscles are cool. It's just, an amazing thing as a student athlete and as a female athlete. So thank you to those who've talked about it and those who have contributed to not only my journey, but other female athletes' journey. I don't know, Southridge took me to Gonzaga. Had an amazing time there, amazing career there. So all the staff who, amazing enough, I recognized quite a few names who I, when I was at Southridge, they were teachers, support staff, coaches. So I've seen a few of your faces here. So the Southridge blood, keeps going for years and years and years. So thank you to those who have supported not only myself, but the years prior and the years after. Ted Weber here, sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm losing my mind here.
You're on East Coast time, it's okay.
It is, it's like 1 a.m. on the East Coast, so I flew in from North Carolina for this event to see my family, spend time with my best friend who had a baby in December, so we are all in the postpartum bubble right now, in the wildness, but I did get to come without my 2.5-year-old, so I actually have a break. So anyways, thank you again for tonight, and I hope Emma continues the journey and the tradition at Southridge, and thank you all.
Thank you, Heather. At this time, I want to introduce our Booster Club president, Mr. Chad Nixon. Chad and his wife put, along with the rest of the Booster Club and the executive committee and everybody, put in who knows how many hours and how much money into the decorations and the programs. I know the programs were done with Rick, but everything is just amazing that the Booster Club does. I can't thank the Booster Club enough. I've had 2 sons go through Southridge, and with the stuff that they've been able to support with, it's just been absolutely amazing. So Chad, thank you. I know you want to give some brief remarks, and then at the end I'll have a couple of quick very things, and then we can get out of here before the sun comes up.
No doubt. Thank you.
I just want to say what an amazing night. I tear up at least 6 times at both these every year, and it's just absolutely amazing. I just want to first say thank you to our committee leads, Rick Wells, great job on all the AV and the books and everything else. Ted Weber, Kelly Brandt, Stephanie Doherty, Jessica Jackman, Kim Wade, Amy Puglisi, Mike Schloss, and my beautiful wife Heidi, that has had house balloons for the last 3 weeks. So I'm kind of happy they're going to be out of my house, but they'll be back next year, I'm sure. So just want to say thank you to those guys. I also want to say thank you to all. This event keeps our bank account full enough to give back, and so we've given back, and we have not said no this year to a single funding request. And so I just want to say we've bought things like shooting machines and cross-country trips and golf carts, flagpoles, food for numerous teams, backstop netting. We've bought swim software. We've bought, we've got blast mats for the sports, for all the women athletes and the weightlifters of the world. So we've been giving back. And it just feels good to say yes, because I think in the last 5 years before that, no has been the pretty standard answer. But we've raised enough money here to give back, and we gave back over $40,000 last year to these items, and I just want to keep doing that. It feels good to me, and I love saying yes, so much so that I get in trouble all the time. I need to learn how to say no. It's because as a retiree, I shouldn't even be up here, and I have a kid in sports. I don't know why I'm up here, so that's okay. And here I am, but a great evening, and for a great cause. I just want to say thank you all. Ted.
This is what I've gotten scripted, but I think at this point we need to take a very quick second and acknowledge our 2026 Hall of Famers. Jake Burns, Emily Sullivan, Ben Hampton, Tyler Laterre, Cassie Hamilton, and Heather Soprano. I remember the days of, I claimed to be an original. I didn't get to go to Fruitland. I didn't get to pick rocks. I think I might have picked some rocks though at our field.
You did.
I know. It's been a privilege for the past 28 years. When the class of '99 was seniors, there was this strange kid that came down out of Spokane and said, hey, I think I'll go down to that new school and go be their trainer. Would have never dreamt 28 years I'd be standing here in front of these guys. And the pride and honor that I have in being able to be your MC tonight, to listen to stories of Heather and the goals, and Emily, this is embarrassing, but I remember sitting in the training room joking and saying, Emily, I know what you're going to do. You're going to go to Wazoo. You're going to go to a baseball game. You're going to find a baseball player, and the next thing you know, I'll be darned if there's not a baseball player sitting next to you. By the way, just one more thing. There's a lot of Cougs in the building tonight, and that was a good thing. So, hey, I just want to thank everybody. What a remarkable evening we've had. I want to thank everybody that's flown in, that's put in time and money to come out, to come and do this. I know flying from the East Coast to the West Coast and spending all day on a plane just to come out and spend an evening with us is expensive, and it's also time consuming, but thank you for doing all those things. This is where I get choked up. From state titles, to injuries, to comebacks, to records that still stand in the hallways, and probably some of them will never be broken. These truly represent some of the best individuals we've ever had that walk the hallways of Southridge. As we conclude our program tonight, I'm going to put in a plea that, yeah, if you didn't win a silent auction, if you didn't win one of the big trips, there's the QR code in there. As Chad said, we've given back so much. They've given back so much. We will only get better with your support. And so, thank you for everybody. We look forward to being here in 360 some odd days. I don't know what the calendar holds, as we induct our class of 2027. With that, please feel free to socialize. Thank you for coming, and have a great night.